We, as hunting horn users, know how it feels to have stigma and ignorance keeping people from trying out the class. People trying to say the hunting horn doesn't dish out enough damage, when in reality, they're just not good enough with the weapon to make it happen. We don't want to be one of those single-minded elitists. Clearly, I think hunting horn would be number 1 on a list of top classes you should try, but I made an entire video explaining that, so feel free to check that out. But here's a few classes to try out when you want to switch things up and save playing that sweet chin music for another hunt. Let's face it, sometimes we just have a bad matchup when we're belting out some tunes with our horn. For myself, I have a little bit of trouble with the faster moving monsters like Odogaron and Ebony Odogaron, while I'm using something a little more committed to their strikes like the hunting horn. In cases like this, I grab my gun that happens to also be a lance, throw a shield on the other hand, and go about my business. Gunlance and Iceborne got a huge new damage dealing mechanic in the worm stake. You slap that bad boy into a monster and just watch your damage take a nice hike each time you go boom boom and explode a shell right on it. There's even different ways and styles you can play the Gunlance. You can take up a normal shell Gunlance and play the full burst style, which includes a bit of a lengthy combo and an unleashing of all your shells at once. But you're rewarded with some massive damage if you happen to have the patience to pull it off. Is that not your style? Pick up the wide shell Gunlance and take the poke shell approach. Or you could take my favorite approach in Iceborne, the long shelling route where you use charged shells that do increased damage to take down monsters. I love using this style along with my health augment and recovery up at level 3. It makes me feel like a regenerating tank. Next, we have a class in Iceborne that got a few nifty clutch claw mechanics that make me really enjoy the playstyle. I'm still learning, of course, and need to start utilizing it more, but nonetheless, Hammer is a great damage dealer while being a little less committed to your strikes, like the badass greatsword. As hunting horn users, we're no stranger to bashing monsters in the face and going for that KO to give you or your team some extra time to splash in some damage. One of my favorite things to do that makes me feel like a badass is finishing out the 3rd level standing charge move, clutching onto their head, spin wheeling onto it, and KOing them with the move. Speaking of spinning, these guys are king of the hill with a crazy amount of damage potential on sliding attacks. You spin rapidly in the air doing damage with every spin and finish with a huge smash into the ground that deals great damage. Not to mention, there's also a chance that you'll grapple onto the monster with this attack. Then you get to swing away at their head for some nice KO damage. Hammer Bros are sitting pretty in Iceborne, and honestly, I can't wait to play more. Sword and Shield is a class that I didn't really give much of a chance at the beginning because I let some of the videos I watched talk me into believing that just because all weapon classes can now use their slinger with weapons drawn, that Sword and Shield for some reason had no reason to be played. I was definitely wrong, and so were they. You get an absolute badass and damage potent combo for one of the classes that still continues to be one of the most mobile of the crew. This mobility and quick sheathing really makes me feel a lot more comfy when I'm playing Sword and Shield than I do with most classes. Not to mention with this mobility, you can clutch onto the monster out of a dodge at any moment. You can have the monster wounded all over with ease. The new combo feels extremely awesome and gratifying to pull off, with a nice solid bit of damage coming with that final move of plunging, then pulling your sword out of the monster. This combo also has a little bit of a challenge built into it by rewarding you with perfect timing. I know what you're thinking though. It's gotta be annoying having to do that mid-fight, and honestly, I thought the same at first, but with just a bit of practice, it'll be second nature to you. You combine this with the return of the high-flying moves and potential of the new quick access moves to your Clutch Claw, and Sword and Shield will prove to be a lot more fun and deal a lot more damage than you thought before you watched this video. Coming up next, we have ourselves another shield-wielding class, the Lance. Right off the bat, if you're the type of person who likes to take comfort into consideration when playing a class, you'll be hard-pressed to find a class that gives you more comfort than the power-guarding Lance. The problem people had with Lance was that from the outside looking in, it looked more like a passive weapon that couldn't really do much in the way of damage. In Iceborne, Capcom decided to push that narrative even further down with a new mechanic and a new skill altogether. The new skill of Offensive Guard actually rewards you for perfectly timing your blocks by boosting your attack by 5%, 10%, and 15% respectively. This really takes the amount of damage you can pull and skyrockets it. And to be honest, perfecting the timing of your block really isn't too hard. They're pretty generous with the gap that they give you to actually activate offensive guard. But what my favorite part of the lance is its block, then clutch, clutch, block, super block, clutch, whatever it's called. You brace yourself for the enemy's attack and then get knocked up into the air and rodeo back onto the monster. This makes softening parts an absolute breeze. And not only that, but pulling this off is one of the most fun and powerful ways to flex on a monster that thinks they have you dead to rights. This last class is one of the weapon classes that I think got the best treatment in Iceborne, the Switch Axe. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the best swag axe user or the most knowledgeable. What I can tell you is that one of the biggest barriers to using the Switch Axe in base world for me was the fact that you were pretty much trying to be in sword mode as much as possible. The axe mode was more of just a bridge to that instead of being a mode that you could stay in and use effectively. That has all changed in Iceborne. Whether it's new moves in axe mode to make you more mobile or the new and very nicely unique buff you get after doing the overhead flip smash with the axe. And I mean exactly that. You just have to do the move. You don't actually have to hit the monster with it. With this newly buffed axe mode, you can more effectively trip stun monsters, and I can't tell you how much fun it is to do that, especially against the Rathian and Rathalos family of monsters. I, myself, pretty much stay in axe mode as much as possible. It's just too fun. But don't fret. Sword mode is just as damage potent as it's ever been, and you can actually pull this off quite a bit, seeing as how you can do this after you clutch onto a monster. Another thing that kept me from playing axe in pre-Iceborne was the fact that you were pretty much locked into place when you decided to go into moves like your wild swing. Well, now you can actually use your slinger ammo to pull a burst shot and disengage from your swing. All in all, I truly think Switch Axe got quite the awesome treatment with the Iceborne expansion, and you should give it a try. I know I said it was the top 5 classes, but I'm a liar, a fibber, a dirty scoundrel, a charlatan. But I have to give a mention to the Insect Glaive because holy crap, is it fun. We all know about the high-flying feats you can pull off and how you can basically stay airborne the entire time. But for me, the thing I really enjoy the most is the amount of choice you have while you're in the air. Of course, you can slam down as always, you can give yourself an extra boost in a direction, or you can do your swing to bounce yourself back in the air and stay afloat. With Iceborne, there's even more choices. You can come down and actually clutch onto the monster. If there's a specific part you want to grab onto, this is a good way of making it happen. Another option you have that's new to Iceborne is slamming down into the ground and immediately going into your ground combo. Speaking of that ground combo, man, is it badass. Not only is it one of the coolest combos you can pull off, but it also feels awesome when that final hit lands and you do some solid damage. And that's not even talking about the Kinsects. How awesome they look, the amount of awesome things that they do, whether it be paralysis, poison, whatever you want, and that's still not even mentioning that you can feed them your slinger ammo and turn them into super Kinsects with awesome bonuses. Honestly, I could probably make an entire video about Insect Glaive too, because man, that is just awesome. So for real this time, that's going to be it, guys. Take the time to try out one of these weapon classes or all of them if you feel up to it. I preached it before, but having a variety of weapon classes that you can play will help you in so many ways, and not only that, it extends the replayability of Monster Hunter as a whole and lets you go down the journey of collecting new weapons with a new sense of purpose. That's the main point of this video, is to try and bring some attention to the less popular classes, like that of our beloved Hunting Horn. If you liked the video, please do let me know with a thumbs up. Comment below what class you think should have been on this list and why. And even if your class was on this list, tell the people why they should give it a try, because I'm sure I didn't cover everything for each class. Subscribe if you haven't already for more Iceborne content such as this, along with Hunting Horn content for those of you who love the Doots. Have a good night and happy hunting.